3 months had passed since the UES Wanderer had first entered the Forbidden Zone. Now the ship emerged from the chaos field, but it was no longer the same vessel that had disappeared so long ago. The hull gleamed with patterns of metal that seemed to flow like liquid. Strange energy conduits ran along the outside, pulsing with soft blue light. The ship moved without visible engines, gliding through space as if it belonged there. Admiral Thesic watched from his flagship as the transformed vessel approached the edge of the zone. His crew worked frantically at their stations, trying to understand what they were seeing. "Sir," his science officer reported, "the ship's energy signature is completely different. It's reading as both human technology and something else entirely." "Are there life signs?" the Admiral asked. "Yes, sir. 4 beings aboard the vessel, but the readings are strange. They register as human, but enhanced in ways I cannot explain." The Admiral opened a communication channel. "UES Wanderer, this is Admiral Thesic. Please respond." Captain Sarah Chen's voice came through clearly, but there was something different about it. Something calmer and more confident than before. "Admiral Thesic, this is Captain Chen. It's good to hear from you again. Captain, what happened to your ship? Our sensors show massive modifications that should be impossible with human technology." "We've learned a few things during our stay here," Sarah replied. "We need to transmit a full report to the Galactic Council. What we've discovered changes everything." Within hours, the Council's emergency assembly hall was filled with representatives from every major species in the galaxy. High Counselor Orn Dai called the session to order as the transformed human ship transmitted its data. "Fellow beings," the High Counselor announced, "we are about to receive a report that may be the most important communication in galactic history." Sarah's image appeared on the main screen. She looked the same, but her eyes held knowledge that seemed far older than her years. "Honored counselors," she began. 3 months ago, my crew and I discovered something in the region you call the Forbidden Zone. We found the ruins of an ancient civilization called the Architects, and we learned why no ship has ever returned from that place." She told them everything. The history of the Architects, the technological plague called the Devourers, the containment system that had held them for thousands of years, and most importantly, the fact that the containment had been failing. "The original containment would have failed within 50 years, Sarah explained. "When that happened, the Devourers would have spread across the galaxy, converting all matter into energy storage. Every world, every ship, every living being would have been destroyed." Murmurs of disbelief filled the assembly hall. Counselor Vexhai raised her hand to speak. "Captain Chen, you are asking us to believe that you have single-handedly solved a threat that destroyed an entire advanced civilization. How is this possible?" "Because we're human," Sarah replied simply. "Our technology is imperfect, chaotic, and adaptable. The Devourers were designed to counter perfect, orderly systems. They cannot effectively process true chaos." Dr. Lisa Parks' voice came through the communication link. "We've built a new containment system using hybrid human architect technology. Instead of fighting chaos, it uses chaos as a power source. The more disorder there is, the stronger the containment becomes." Marcus Okafor appeared on screen next. His appearance also changed. His skin had a faint metallic shimmer, and his eyes glowed with soft light. "The system is self-repairing and self-improving," he explained. "It actually gets better at its job over time. The Devourers will never be able to break free." "But the cost," Admiral Thesic said quietly, "was your humanity." Tom Rodriguez laughed, and the sound carried both sadness and joy. "No, Admiral, we're still human. We're just more than we used to be. We have extended lifespans and enhanced abilities, but we still think like humans. We still feel like humans. And that," said a new voice, "is exactly why the system works." The last curator's image appeared alongside the human crew, the Ancient, being looked younger than before, renewed by hope fulfilled. "For 700 years, I have maintained the failing containment alone," the curator explained. "Now I am no longer alone. The humans have become my partners in guardianship, and together we have created something that will last forever." High Counselor Orndai leaned forward in his chair. "Captain Chen, are you saying that you and your crew will remain in the Forbidden Zone permanently?" "We prefer to call it the Guardian's Vigil now," Sarah replied. "And yes, we will remain. Someone must maintain the containment and watch for any signs of the devourers trying to escape. But we are not prisoners. We are guardians by choice. What if we wanted to send help? Counselor Vexhai asked. What if other species wanted to assist in this guardianship? Dr. Park answered this question. The transformation process that allowed us to interface with architect technology is dangerous and irreversible. Anyone who undergoes it cannot return to normal space permanently. They become part of the containment system itself. We've built a beautiful place here, Marcus added. The ancient ruins have been restored and expanded. We have laboratories, workshops, living spaces. The curator has shared thousands of years of knowledge with us. In many ways, we have a better life than we would have had anywhere else. Admiral Thesick struggled with what he was hearing. But you've given up everything. Your families, your homes, your futures. No, Sarah said firmly. We've gained everything. We've saved the galaxy and become part of something greater than ourselves. We've taken human ingenuity and combined it with ancient wisdom to create a perfect solution to an impossible problem. And, Tom added with a grin, we get to live for thousands of years in a place filled with the most advanced technology in galactic history. It's not exactly a punishment. The assembly hall was quiet for a long time as the representatives absorbed what they had heard. Finally, High Counselor Orndai spoke. Captain Chen, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I want to officially thank you and your crew for your sacrifice. What you have done goes beyond duty. You have saved every living being in the galaxy. We prefer to think of it as the ultimate exploration mission, Sarah replied. We've gone where no one could go before, and we've found a way to make sure everyone else can keep exploring safely. Counselor Vex High stood up. I propose that we rename the region from the Forbidden Zone to the Guardian's Vigil, as Captain Chen suggested. And I propose that we establish a memorial here at Council headquarters to honor the 4 humans who saved us all. The vote was unanimous. One more thing, Sarah said as the communication began to end. We want children throughout the galaxy to know our story. We want them to understand that sometimes the smallest and simplest can accomplish what the largest and most complex cannot. Being human isn't about having the best technology or the strongest ships. It's about being willing to do what's right, even when it's difficult. As the transmission ended, the transformed wanderer turned and headed back into the swirling chaos of the Guardian's Vigil. The ship moved gracefully between the restored architect structures, patrolling an area that was no longer a prison, but a home. Deep within the containment system, the devourers remained trapped, held back by technology that grew stronger from chaos rather than weaker. The ancient threat would never escape now, thanks to 4 humans who had proven that sometimes being imperfect was exactly what was needed. The galaxy went back to its daily business, but now every child learned the story of the humans who had saved them all. In schools across thousands of worlds, young beings were taught that courage and ingenuity mattered more than advanced technology. And in the Guardian's Vigil, 4 enhanced humans continued their eternal watch, protecting a galaxy that would never fully understand what they had sacrificed to keep it safe. They were no longer just human, but they were still human enough to smile when they thought about the children learning their story. The last curator was no longer the last. The Wanderer had found its true destination at last. And somewhere in the chaos field that surrounded their new home, human laughter echoed through ancient halls that had been silent for far too long. The galaxy was safe, and the Guardians were home. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched for miles in every direction. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy sat in their special chairs, each designed for their unique body types. The air was carefully controlled to keep everyone alive and comfortable. Some breathed methane, others needed pure oxygen, and a few survived on electrical charges alone. Ambassador Zixtal stood at the center podium, her crystalline body catching the light from a dozen different suns that shone through the dome above. She was a Caridian, one of the oldest and most respected species in the galaxy. Her people were made of living silicon and had explored space for over 50,000 years. Fellow council members, Zixtal's voice rang out clearly through the translation devices that everyone wore. Today, I present our latest findings from the Deep Space Survey Project. A massive holographic display appeared above the podium. It showed a 3-dimensional map of their galaxy, with billions of stars. marked in different colors. Green dots showed habitable worlds where intelligent life could thrive. Yellow dots marked planets that might be useful for mining or research. Red dots were the danger zones, worlds that no sane being would ever visit. The map was mostly red dots. As you can see, Zixtal continued, our survey has confirmed what we have long known. The vast majority of planets in this galaxy are death worlds, completely unsuitable for civilized life. A member of the Vorthan collective raised one of his many arms. The Vorthans looked like walking crystals, but they were actually made of compressed gas held together by powerful magnetic fields. Ambassador, could you remind us of the main criteria for classifying a death world? Zixtal nodded and gestured to the display. New images appeared showing various terrible planets. Certainly, Counselor Vexhan. A death world is any planet that meets one or more of these conditions. Extreme temperature variations, violent weather patterns, unstable geology, toxic atmosphere, or most dangerous of all, excessive water coverage. The entire council chamber filled with the sounds of agreement. Some species clicked their claws, others hummed in harmony, and the gas-breathing Nexari created small lightning displays to show their approval. Water, Zixtal said with obvious disgust, is perhaps the most destructive force in the universe. It corrodes our technologies, creates chaos in atmospheric systems, and supports the most violent and unpredictable forms of life we have ever encountered. She was not wrong. Every species in the Galactic Council had learned this lesson the hard way. The Caridians had lost 3 colony ships to water worlds early in their space exploration. The ships had landed on planets where water fell from the sky in terrible storms, and the liquid had eaten through their hulls like acid. The Vorthans had tried to study a water world once. Their magnetic field generators had failed completely when exposed to the chaotic electromagnetic patterns that water created. Half their research team had been lost when their containment fields collapsed. Even the mighty Nexari, who could survive in the vacuum of space itself, feared water worlds. Water interfered with their natural electrical fields and made them weak and confused. One Nexari explorer had crash-landed on a water world and had barely escaped with his life. He described it as a nightmare realm where liquid chaos covered everything. Our current data shows that any planet with more than 30% water coverage should be marked as a red zone, Zixtal explained. These worlds are simply too dangerous for any intelligent species to survive on for extended periods. The scientific evidence was overwhelming. For thousands of years, the galaxy's greatest minds had studied the problem of water worlds. Every investigation led to the same conclusion. Water meant death. Water created unpredictable weather. It formed clouds that moved randomly across the sky, dropping liquid without warning. It carved up the land into strange shapes, creating mountains and valleys that changed over time. It filled vast areas called oceans, where no solid ground existed for thousands of miles. But worst of all, water supported chaotic biological systems. The few times that galactic explorers had studied water worlds from a safe distance, they had seen horrifying things. Creatures that lived their entire lives swimming in the liquid, plants that needed water to survive and actually absorbed it into their bodies. Entire ecosystems where beings constantly consumed each other in an endless cycle of violence. The biological survey data is particularly disturbing, Zixtal continued, showing new images on the holographic display. Life forms on water worlds show extremely aggressive behavior. They fight constantly for resources, territory, and survival. They have no concept of the order and harmony that civilized beings require. The images showed terrible scenes from various water worlds. Creatures with sharp teeth chasing other creatures through liquid water. Plants that grew wild and uncontrolled, covering entire continents. Weather systems that could destroy anything in their path. This is why our ancestors were wise to avoid these death worlds, said Elder Mordak of the Nexari delegation. His electrical field flickered with emotion as he spoke. We have built our civilization on worlds of order and predictability. Gas giants with stable atmospheric layers, crystal worlds with perfect geometric formations, desert planets where the environment remains constant for millions of years. Exactly, Zixtal agreed. Our great civilizations have thrived because we chose to live in environments that support logic, science, and progress. We do not waste our time trying to survive in places where chaos rules supreme. The Galactic Council had been following this wisdom for over 100,000 years. Their space routes carefully avoided star systems with water worlds. Their colony ships were programmed to never land on planets with significant water coverage. Their trading networks connected thousands of civilized worlds while completely bypassing entire sectors that contained nothing but death worlds. This approach had worked perfectly. The galaxy was filled with peaceful, orderly civilizations. Wars were rare because everyone lived on planets that encouraged calm thinking and logical behavior. Trade flourished because space travel was safe and predictable. Science advanced rapidly because researchers could work in stable, controlled environments. The three major species had divided the galaxy among themselves based on their preferred environments. The Caridians claimed the rocky, mountainous worlds, where their silicon-based bodies felt most at home. The Vorthans took the worlds with dense atmospheres and strong magnetic fields. The Nexari settled on gas giants and worlds with intense electrical activity. Together, they controlled over 10,000 star systems and ruled a galactic empire that stretched across half the galaxy. They had achieved peace, prosperity, and scientific advancement that their ancestors could never have imagined. In conclusion, Zixtal said as her presentation began to wind down, our latest survey confirms that we have correctly identified and avoided the galaxy's death worlds. Our expansion continues to proceed safely and efficiently. We estimate that within another 10,000 years, we will have claimed every habitable world in our region of the galaxy. The council members showed their approval again. It was a good report, confirming everything they already knew about the universe. Water worlds were death worlds. Order was better than chaos. Civilized beings belonged on civilized planets. Are there any questions about the survey data? Zixtal asked. Counselor, Vexhan raised his arm again. Just one small matter, Ambassador. Our long-range sensors detected some unusual signals from Sector 7 Delta. The readings suggested possible technological activity from a Class 5 water world. Zixtal's crystalline face showed confusion. That's impossible, Counselor. Class 5 water. Worlds have over 70% liquid coverage. No intelligent life could survive in such conditions. That's what we thought as well, Vexhan replied. We assumed it was a sensor malfunction or perhaps some automated systems left behind by an extinct species. We've scheduled a routine investigation. Very good, Zixtal nodded. I'm sure it will turn out to be nothing more than background radiation or solar interference. Class 5 water worlds are the most dangerous death worlds in the galaxy. Nothing could live there. The council session ended with everyone feeling satisfied and secure in their knowledge. They had built the greatest civilization in galactic history by being smart enough to avoid the chaos and death that water worlds represented. None of them could imagine that their entire understanding of the universe was about to change forever. Captain Velthor stood on the bridge of her ship, the Crystal Harmony, staring at the impossible readings on her main display screen. 3 weeks had passed since the Galactic Council meeting, and the strange signals from Sector 7 Delta had only gotten stronger and clearer. Run the sensor sweep again, she ordered her communications officer, a young Caridian named Jextar. Yes, Captain, Jextar replied, his crystalline fingers dancing across the control panel. The signals are definitely coming from the third planet in this system. The one that's... He paused, checking his readings again. Captain, this planet is 71% liquid water coverage. Velthor felt a chill run through her silicon-based body. In all her years of space exploration, she had never encountered anything like this. The signals they were detecting showed clear signs of advanced technology. Radio transmissions, electromagnetic signatures that suggested powered flight, and complex communication networks that spanned the entire planet. It has to be automated systems, she said, trying to convince herself as much as her crew. Some ancient civilization must have built machines before they died out. The water probably killed them off thousands of years ago. But even as she said it, Velthor knew something was wrong with that explanation. The signals weren't random or repetitive like old automated systems usually were. They were complex, varied, and showed signs of active intelligence behind them. Captain, called out her science officer, Morthak, I'm detecting energy signatures that match our definition of cities. Large population centers with power grids and transportation networks. That's impossible, Velthor said firmly. No intelligent life can survive on a Class 5 water world. Our scientists have proven this countless times. She walked to the main viewing screen and stared at the planet below them. It was a beautiful sight, she had to admit. Blue and white swirls covered most of the surface, with patches of brown and green visible through the clouds. But beauty could be deceiving. Those blue areas were vast oceans of liquid water, and those white swirls were water vapor in the atmosphere. This was exactly the kind of death world that every civilized being in the galaxy had learned to avoid. Maintain. Safe distance, she ordered. Full environmental suits for everyone. I want atmospheric scrubbers running at maximum power. If we're going to investigate this mystery, we're not taking any chances with contamination. The crew of the Crystal Harmony began preparing for what they assumed would be a dangerous mission to study the ruins of a dead civilization. They loaded their shuttlecraft with equipment designed to protect them from the hostile environment of a water world. Sealed suits that could protect their crystalline bodies from liquid corrosion. Air purification systems to keep their breathing. Mixture clean. Emergency teleportation devices in case they needed to escape quickly. Captain, Jextar called out with excitement in his voice. I'm receiving a direct communication signal. It's directed at us specifically. Velthor felt her body temperature drop several degrees. A communication signal meant intelligence. Active intelligence. Put it through the universal translator and display it on the main screen. The main screen flickered and then showed an image that made the entire bridge crew step backward in shock. A creature was looking directly at them through some kind of visual communication device. It had pale, soft-looking skin instead of the strong crystalline or metallic bodies that all intelligent species possessed. Its head was round and covered with strange fiber-like growths. Most disturbing of all, it had liquid water visible in its eyes. Greetings, the creature said through the translator. This is Commander Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. We detected your ship entering our solar system. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions. For a long moment, nobody on the bridge could speak. They were looking at something that should not exist. A living, intelligent being that apparently lived on a water world and somehow survived the experience. This is Captain Velthor of the Caridian Exploration Fleet, she finally managed to say. We are here to investigate unusual signals from your planet. We did not expect to find living beings. The creature that called itself Sarah Chen looked confused. You didn't expect to find living beings? There are over 8 billion humans on Earth. We've been broadcasting radio signals into space for over a century. How could you not know about us? Velthor felt like her world was turning upside down. 8 billion? On a water world? You survive? How do you protect yourselves from the liquid chaos? Now Sarah Chen looked even more confused. Liquid chaos? Do you mean the oceans? We don't protect ourselves from them. We use them. For transportation, for food, for recreation. Many humans spend their free time swimming in the ocean. Swimming? Morthak whispered in horror. They voluntarily enter the liquid water? Sarah Chen seemed to hear him through the communication link. Of course we swim. It's one of humanity's oldest activities. We swim for fun, for exercise, for sport. Some humans can hold their breath underwater for several minutes. The bridge crew of the Crystal Harmony exchanged looks of terror and amazement. This was beyond anything they had imagined possible. Not only were these creatures surviving on a water world, they were actively entering the water on purpose. Commander Chen, Velthor said carefully, we would like to request permission to meet with you in person. This discovery could change everything we know about life in the galaxy. Of course, Sarah replied. We'd be happy to meet with you. You can dock at our International Space Station, or if you prefer, we can arrange a meeting on Earth's surface. The surface? Velthor almost choked on the words. The actual surface of a water world? Well, yes. Most of our cities are on the surface. We have some underwater cities too, but those might be overwhelming for a first visit. Underwater cities. These creatures had built cities beneath the liquid water and somehow managed to live there. Velthor was beginning to realize that everything the Galactic Council knew about water worlds might be completely wrong. We will meet at your space station, she decided. We need to take extensive safety precautions before we could consider visiting your planet's surface. Safety precautions? Sarah Chen asked. Is there something dangerous about our space station? No, Velthor said quickly. We need to protect ourselves from the water. Our bodies are not designed to survive exposure to liquid H2O. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Captain, I need to tell you something that might surprise you. The human body is approximately 60% water. We're made mostly of the stuff. The silence on the bridge of the Crystal Harmony was complete. Every crew member stared at the screen in shock. These creatures weren't just living on a water world. They weren't just swimming in water for fun. They were actually made of water. How? Morthak finally whispered. How is that possible? Sarah Chen smiled, showing white structures inside her mouth that the aliens assumed must be some kind of internal armor. It's just how we evolved. Water isn't dangerous to us. It's essential for our survival. We drink it, we bathe in it, we play in it. Without water, humans die within a few days. Velthor realized that she was facing the greatest discovery in galactic history. Not only had they found intelligent life on a water world, they had found intelligent life that had evolved specifically to thrive in the conditions that every other species considered deadly. Commander Chen, she said slowly, I think we need to have a much longer conversation. What we're learning here could revolutionize our understanding of life itself. I'd be happy to share what we know, Sarah replied. But I have to warn you about something. If you're not comfortable with water, visiting Earth might be challenging for you. It rains here regularly, we have rivers and lakes everywhere, and most of our planet is covered by oceans. Water is just part of our daily life. As the Crystal Harmony slowly approached the human space station, Captain Velthor began composing a message to send back to the Galactic Council. How could she possibly explain what they had discovered? How could she tell them that everything they thought they knew about the universe was wrong? These humans didn't just survive on a water world, they had mastered it completely. They had built a technological civilization while living in harmony with the very force that other species feared most. And they did it all while swimming. Dr. Elena Rodriguez floated through the docking bay of the International Space Station, moving with the easy grace that came from years of swimming and diving. She had been chosen as humanity's first ambassador to alien life, not because of her diplomatic training, but because she was one of Earth's most accomplished marine biologists and competitive swimmers. The decision had seemed logical to the human officials. If these aliens were confused about humans and water, who better to explain it than someone who had spent their entire life in and around water? Elena pushed off from a wall and glided toward the docking port where the alien ship had attached, itself. The Crystal Harmony was beautiful in its own way, made of what looked like living crystal that caught and reflected light in patterns that seemed almost musical. The airlock cycled open, and Elena got her first look at Captain Velthor and her crew. The Caridians were even more striking in person than they had appeared on the communication screen. They were tall, elegant beings who looked like they had been carved from precious gems. Their bodies caught the station's lights and threw rainbow patterns across the walls. But what struck Elena most was how nervous they seemed. They were wearing what appeared to be full environmental suits, and they moved very carefully, as if they expected something terrible to happen at any moment. Welcome to the International Space Station, Elena said, offering what she hoped was a reassuring smile. I'm Dr. Elena Rodriguez. I'll be your guide during your visit. Captain Velthor stepped forward cautiously. Her suit's speakers translated her words into English. Dr. Rodriguez, we are honored to meet you. I must ask, is it safe here? Our sensors indicate that this station contains liquid water in several areas. Elena blinked in surprise. Well, yes. We need water to survive. There's water in our drinking supplies, our hygiene facilities, and our life support systems. Is that a problem? The alien crew exchanged what Elena assumed were worried looks. Through their transparent helmets, she could see their crystalline faces flickering with different colors, which she guessed might be some form of emotional expression. Dr. Rodriguez, Captain Velthor said carefully, we must admit that we do not understand how your species survives in such conditions. Our scientists have always classified planets with high water content as death worlds. The idea that intelligent beings could not only survive but thrive in water-rich environments is completely foreign to us. Elena realized that she was dealing with beings who had never encountered anything like humanity before. She thought for a moment about how to explain something that seemed as natural as breathing to her. Would you like me to show you how humans interact with water? She asked. I could demonstrate some of our basic techniques. That would be... Velthor paused. That would be educational. But please be careful. We do not want to see you harmed. Elena smiled and led them to the station's recreation module, where there was a small pool used for exercise and research. The pool was only about 10 feet long and 5 feet deep, but it would be perfect for a demonstration. The aliens followed her, keeping their distance from the water as if it might attack them at any moment. Their sensors were constantly beeping and flashing, apparently analyzing the liquid for signs of danger. This is just ordinary water, Elena explained. Hydrogen and oxygen molecules, the same stuff that makes up most of my body. She gestured to the clear liquid in the pool. Humans have been swimming for thousands of years. It's one of our most natural activities. You enter this liquid voluntarily? Asked Morthak, the science officer. His voice carried a tone of amazement and horror. Not just voluntarily, Elena replied. We enjoy it. Swimming is relaxing, fun, and great exercise. She began removing her outer clothes, revealing the swimsuit she was wearing underneath. The alien stepped back further, apparently convinced that she was about to attempt something incredibly dangerous. Elena sat on the edge of the pool and slipped her feet into the water. The alien's instruments went crazy, beeping and flashing warnings. See? The water doesn't hurt me. It feels good. She slid into the pool completely, submerging herself up to her shoulders. The sound that came from the aliens could only be described as a collective gasp of terror. Dr. Rodriguez! Captain Velthor called out. Please exit the liquid immediately. Our readings show that you are completely surrounded by H2O. Elena laughed, which probably didn't help the aliens' stress levels. I'm perfectly fine, watch this. She took a deep breath and dove under the surface, swimming to the bottom of the pool and then back up. When she emerged, shaking water from her hair, the aliens were in what appeared to be a state of shock. You were completely submerged, Velthor whispered. You disappeared beneath the surface of the liquid. How are you still alive? Humans can hold their breath for several minutes when we need to, Elena explained. Some of us can stay underwater for much longer. The current world record is over 24 minutes. 24 minutes? Morthak's instruments were working, over time trying to process this information. Submerged in liquid water for 24 minutes and the being survived? Elena nodded and began demonstrating different swimming strokes. She showed them the freestyle, backstroke, breaststroke, and butterfly. Each movement seemed to horrify and fascinate the aliens in equal measure. These are different techniques for moving through water, she explained as she swam. Humans developed them for transportation, rescue operations, recreation, and competition. Competition? Velthor asked. You compete in who can survive the longest in the deadly liquid? Not survive, Elena corrected, pulling herself out of the pool. We compete to see who can move through the water fastest, or with the best technique, or who can stay underwater the longest. Swimming is a sport for us. We have Olympic competitions where the best swimmers in the world compete against each other. She began explaining the different types of aquatic sports that humans enjoyed. Swimming races, diving competitions, water polo, synchronized swimming, surfing, and dozens of other activities. With each description, the aliens seemed to become more amazed and confused. You ride on the surface of moving water for fun? Velthor asked when Elena described surfing. Yes, it's called surfing. Humans stand on boards and ride ocean waves. Some waves can be 30 feet tall or more. 30 feet of moving liquid water, Morthak repeated slowly. And humans voluntarily place themselves in front of this? Elena realized that she needed to help them understand the bigger picture. Captain, may I ask what your species uses for hydration? How do you get the liquids your bodies need? We absorb moisture from crystalline formations, Velthor replied. Very carefully controlled amounts in highly purified forms. Too much liquid of any kind can damage our silicon-based structures. I see, Elena said. That makes sense for your biology. But humans are carbon-based life forms. Water isn't dangerous to us. It's essential. We're made of it. She led them to a medical station and showed them a scan of her own body on the display screen. The image clearly showed the water content throughout her tissues. As you can see, I'm about 60% water by weight. My blood is mostly water. My muscles are mostly water. My brain is mostly water. Taking water away from a human is what would kill us, not giving us more. The aliens studied the scan in fascination. Their instruments confirmed what Elena was telling them. This creature was indeed made primarily of the substance they considered to be universally deadly. This changes everything, Velthor said softly. If intelligent life can evolve to not just tolerate water but to require it, if beings can become so adapted to liquid environments that they actually enter them voluntarily. Captain, Morthak interrupted, if humans can survive complete submersion in water, and if they're made primarily of water themselves, then what we've classified as death worlds might actually be life worlds, Velthor finished. Worlds that support a completely different type of life than we ever imagined possible. Elena sensed that something very important was happening in this conversation. How many worlds has your galactic civilization avoided because they had too much water? Thousands, Velthor replied. Perhaps tens of thousands. We've marked entire star systems as off-limits because they contained what we called Class 5 water, worlds. And you never investigated any of them? Why would we? We knew they were death worlds. Our science proved it conclusively. Elena thought about the implications of what she was learning. An entire galactic civilization had avoided thousands of potentially habitable worlds because they contained the very thing that made life possible for humans. Captain, she said carefully, I think there might be a lot more life in this galaxy than your people realized, and I think humans might be able to help you find it. As the alien crew prepared to report their findings back to the Galactic Council, Elena floated in the pool one more time, watching their reactions. They were still nervous about the water, but now there was curiosity mixed with their fear. For the first time in galactic history, beings were beginning to understand that water wasn't the enemy of life, it was life's greatest ally. Dr. Cathara was considered the greatest expert on death worlds in the entire galaxy. Her research had shaped galactic policy for over 3,000 years. She had personally classified more dangerous planets than any other scientist alive, and her textbooks were used in every major university across known space. She was also completely terrified. Dr. Cathara stood in the observation deck of the research vessel Infinite Wisdom, staring down at the blue and white planet that the humans called Earth. According to every scientific principle she had ever learned, the planet below should be utterly lifeless. Instead, it was home to over 8 billion intelligent beings who not only survived in liquid water but actually seemed to prefer it. The preliminary reports were clearly wrong, she muttered to herself, checking her instruments for the 100th time. There must be some mistake in the data. But the data was undeniable. Long-range sensors showed massive cities covering the planet's surface. Energy signatures indicated advanced technology throughout the world. Most shocking of all, the electromagnetic spectrum was filled with communication signals, entertainment broadcasts, and what appeared to be educational transmissions about something called marine biology. Dr. Cathara called her assistant, a young Vorthon named Zephlin. The human representatives are ready for the meeting. They're waiting in conference room 7. Cathara took a deep breath of her carefully filtered atmosphere and made her way to the meeting room. She had requested this conference to personally interview the humans and prove that there had to be some logical explanation for their impossible existence. The conference room had been specially prepared for the meeting. The atmosphere was set to human normal, with elevated oxygen levels and humidity that made most galactic species extremely uncomfortable. Dr. Cathara wore a full environmental suit, but she had agreed to meet the humans in their preferred conditions as a sign of scientific respect. Dr. Elena Rodriguez was waiting for her, along with several other humans who had been introduced as experts in various fields. There was Dr. Marcus Thompson, a human evolutionary biologist, Dr. Sarah Kim, who studied something called aquatic adaptation, and Captain James Morrison, who apparently spent his career traveling across Earth's oceans in vehicles that floated on the water's surface. Dr. Cathara, Elena said warmly, thank you for coming to meet with us. We're excited to share what we know about life on water worlds. Cathara activated her recording equipment and consulted her prepared list of questions. Dr. Rodriguez, I must begin by saying that everything I have learned about your species contradicts thousands of years of established galactic science. My research has proven that water worlds are inherently hostile to intelligent life. I understand your confusion, Elena replied, but perhaps the issue is that your research was based on species that evolved in dry environments. You were studying water worlds from the perspective of beings who were never meant to live there. Dr. Thompson leaned forward. Dr. Cathara, may I ask what types of worlds your species evolved on? Caridians evolved on worlds with stable crystal formations, Cathara replied. Dry, predictable environments with minimal atmospheric moisture. Our bodies are silicon-based and require very specific conditions to function properly. That makes perfect sense, Dr. Kim said. Your species adapted to thrive in dry, stable conditions. Of course, water worlds would seem hostile to you, but humans evolved specifically for water-rich environments. Cathara was beginning to feel the first cracks in her scientific certainty. Explain this adaptation process. Dr. Thompson activated a holographic display that showed the human evolutionary timeline. Humans evolved from creatures that lived both in water and on land. Our ancestors spent millions of years adapting to aquatic environments. Swimming isn't something we learned to do. It's something we evolved to do. The display showed early human ancestors who had clearly been shaped by life around water. Streamlined bodies, the ability to hold their breath, hands and feet that could move efficiently through liquid. Our planet is 71% water, Elena added. Humans didn't evolve despite the water. We evolved because of it. The water shaped us, made us stronger, made us more adaptable. Adaptable? Cathara asked. How do you mean? Captain Morrison spoke up. Dr. Cathara, humans can survive in more different environments than probably any other species you've encountered. We can live at sea level or at high altitude, in hot deserts or cold Arctic regions. We can adapt to different atmospheric pressures, different gravity levels, different seasonal changes. This adaptability comes from our water world training, Dr. Kim explained. Water environments are constantly changing. Tides, currents, weather patterns, seasonal variations. To survive on a water world, a species has to become incredibly flexible and resilient. Cathara was taking notes frantically. This was not what she had expected to hear. But surely the chaotic nature of water environments would prevent the development of advanced technology. Actually, it's the opposite, Dr. Thompson said. The challenges of a water world forced humans to become very innovative. We had to develop boats to cross the oceans. We had to create diving equipment to explore underwater. We had to learn to predict weather patterns and understand complex fluid dynamics. Elena pulled up another display showing human cities. Look at our coastal cities, Dr. Cathara. We build structures that can withstand hurricanes, tsunamis, and flooding. Our engineering has to account for forces that species on stable worlds never encounter. We don't just tolerate the chaos of water worlds, Captain Morrison added. We've learned to use it. Our ships harness wind and wave power. Our cities use tidal energy. We've turned the planet's water cycle into a resource instead of a threat. Dr. Cathara stared at the images of human cities that seemed to flow and bend with their environment instead of fighting against it. Architecture that was designed to work with water instead of hiding from it. It was completely different from the rigid, geometric structures that galactic civilization preferred. Show me more about this. Swimming, she said. Our initial reports indicated that humans voluntarily submerge themselves in water. This seems impossible. Elena smiled and activated a video display. This is footage from our last Olympic Games. The swimming competitions. Cathara watched in amazement as hundreds of humans dove into pools of water and raced across the surface, using various techniques. They moved through the liquid with speed and grace that seemed to defy physics. Some of them stayed underwater for what seemed like impossibly long periods. The current world record for the 1,500-meter freestyle is just under 14 minutes, Elena explained. That's swimming almost a mile through water in less time than most species need to walk the same distance on dry land. And this is recreational? Cathara asked weakly. Recreation, sport, exercise, transportation, and profession, Dr. Kim replied. We have humans whose entire careers involve working underwater. Marine biologists, underwater welders, deep-sea researchers, submarine crews. The video changed to show humans working hundreds of feet underwater, wearing special equipment that allowed them to breathe while completely submerged in the ocean. They moved among strange creatures that Cathara realized must be the native life forms of this water world. Dr. Kethara, Elena said gently, I think the problem with your research is that you classified water worlds as death worlds without ever considering that life might evolve specifically for those conditions. You were looking at them from the perspective of species that evolved elsewhere. But we studied the biological systems on water worlds, Kethara protested. They were chaotic and violent, creatures constantly consuming each other. That's natural selection, Dr. Thompson explained. Competition and adaptation. It's not chaos, it's evolution in action. The constant challenges of a water world environment force life to become stronger, smarter, and more resilient. Captain Morrison pulled up a map of Earth's oceans. Dr. Kethara, humans have explored every ocean on our planet. We've been to the deepest trenches and the most remote islands. We've studied life forms that exist in conditions you would consider absolutely impossible, and we've thrived. Dr. Kethara looked at the data streaming across her instruments. Energy readings, biological scans, technological signatures. Everything confirmed what these humans were telling her. They hadn't just survived on a water world. They had built a complex, advanced civilization. If what you're saying is true, she said slowly, then every water world in the galaxy could potentially support intelligent life. Not just support it, Elena said. Create it. Force it to evolve, make it stronger than life that develops in stable, predictable environments. We call them crucible worlds, Dr. Kim added, planets where the extreme conditions forge extremely capable life forms. Kethara realized that she was witnessing the collapse of her entire life's work. Thousands of years of galactic science were being proven wrong by a species that shouldn't exist. How many worlds like Earth are there in the galaxy? She whispered. Based on your own survey data, Elena replied, probably tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands. An entire galaxy full of worlds that your civilization has been avoiding for eons. Dr. Kethara sat in silence for a long moment, processing the implications.